It was July 2018, when I first heard of DL. I was in the clinic's sleek, glass-walled office, sorting through e-encrypted files, when my boss, Dr. Evelyn Hart, pulled me aside. "Clara," she said, her voice low, "we have a VIP case, top-tier confidentiality. You're on logistics, but you don't ask questions." I nod dead, used to the drill. But when I saw the client names, Prince Harry and Meghan Markle, the Duke and Duchess of Sussex, my heart skipped a beat. The #Y were the world's golden couple, the rebelles who'd charmed the globe with their fairytale wedding. And now, they were entrusting US with their dream of a family. DL was no ordinary surrogate. At 28, she was a single mother with a sharp mind and a quiet strength, carefully chosen after months of vetting. Her file described her as ideal, healthy, discreet, and, crucially, willing to #IGN her life away under a #stack of non-disclosure agreements. But DL wasn't just a gestational carrier, as I'd assumed. She claims she's the biological mother of Archie and Lilibet Sussex, her eggs, her body, her births. If she's telling the truth, the children 6th and 7th in line to #the British throne are hers, not Meghan's. And the carefully #rafted narrative of the Sussex family is #a lie that can topple a dynasty. I met DL in a sterile consultation room, her hazel eyes scanning the NDA like a prisoner reading a sentence. She was #PR almost $2 million, lifelong anonymity, and a chunk #E to help a couple she admired. They seemed so real, she told me later, her voice tingled with betrayal. Harry was kind, Meghan was warm. They said they needed me to protect their family from the vultures. The plan was meticulous. DL would give birth in a private Colorado hospital, far from London's paparazzi. Meghan would appear pregnant in public, her bump carefully curated with prosthetics and strategic outfits. The world would believe she'd carried Archie and Lilibet hearse #LF, preserving their place in the royal line of success #Scion. Why the deception? It's not just about privacy. The British monarchy is a #gal institution, bound by rules as old as the crown itself. For a child to be eligible for the throne, they must be born of the #other's body. Surrogacy, especially with a #donor's eggs, is a grey area that could disqualify Archie and Lilibet from their titulus and succession rights. No Her Royal Highness, no place in line, no claim to the legacy Harry was born into. The Sussexes, DL's #YS, knew this. So they orchestrated a cover-up, one that erased her existence and rewrote the story of their children's births. I'll never forget the #day DL came back to the clinic, 6 months after Archie's birth in May 2019. It was a cold November morning, and she looked like a ghost, pale, trembling, her hands clutching a manila folder. They erased #E, Clara, she whispered, tears streaming down her face. They OK my son and pretended I was never there. She described the birth, a sterile room, a team of private doctors, and a lawyer who whisked Archie away before she could hold him. Hospital records were altered, she claimed, to list me #Ghan as the mother. The birth certificate was edited days later, Meghan's full name replaced with her royal title, Her Royal High #Ness the Duchess of Sussex. It wasn't just for optics, DL said. It was to bury me. She showed me her evidence. Hospital admits #ION forms from St. Mary's Hospital in Colorado, emails from an intermediary named Elias, and bank statements, showing a $500,000 initial payment that stopped cold after the birth. There was a photo, too, time-stamped May 6, 2019, showing DL in a hospital gown, her face blurred, but her exhaustion raw. They promised me security, she sighed. Instead, they left me with nothing. When Lilibet was born in June 2021, the pattern repeated. Another hospital, another silenced birth, another broken promise. DL says she suffered postpartum complications, preeclampsia that nearly killed her, and the Sussex team ignored her pleas for #our help. I was a tool, she told me. Used and discarded. The Pubble #IC saw N1 of this. Meghan and Harry played their roles to perfection. The Oprah interview, where Meghan spoke of motherhood with glistening eyes. The carefully staged photos of Harry cradling their babies. The public appearances where Meghan's bump was just convincing enough. They sold the world a fairy tale. BU #T cracks appeared. The absence of a hospital photo op after Archie's birth raised eyebrows. The delayed, vague announcement of his delivery fueled whispers. Viral videos showed Meghan's baby bump shifting oddly when she bent down, dismissed as bad angles or conspiracy no end sense. Now, with DL's claims, those moments are being dissected frame by frame. Was it a prosthetic? A calculated illusion? The truth, DL says, is uglier than anyone imagined. I left the CL #INIC in 2020, burned out by the secrets ICA ride. But DL stayed in touch, her anger growing with every unanswered email #O the Sussex team. By July 2025, she'd had enough. She hired a legal team, pitbull attorneys who thrive on high-stakes cases, and began compiling a dossier that could shake the monarchy to its core. It includes NDAs signed in late 2018, hospital records from Colorado and Santa Barbara, digital correspondence with Harry and Meghan's inner circle, and most explosively, DNA certificates, she claims prove her biological connection to Archie and Lilibet. There's even a bombshell, a recorded phone call, allegedly with Meghan's #former aide, discussing contingency plans, if DL ever spoke out. I'm not after fame, DL told me over #a coffee last month, her voice steady but fierce. I want my children to know who I am. The fallout could #be catastrophic. If DL's claims are proven in court, Archie and Lilibet could lose the titles and places in the line of succession. Prince William, sources say, is livid, vowing to block any attempt to reintegrate #the Sussex children as working royals when he becomes king. King Charles, weakened by canker, called the idea of their royal roles incredulous, given Harry and Meghan's 2020 exit. But the real drama centers on Harry. Insiders describe a man unraveling, paranoid, sleepless, and clashing with Meghan over how to handle the crisis. He's obsessed with the media, a source close to the couple told me. He's checking headlines every hour, terrified #the truth is slipping out of his control. Did he know about the alleged cover-up? Did he smile for the cameras, rubbing Meghan's bump, knowing it was a lie? Or was he, as some whisper, manipulated by a wife whose ambition outstripped her loyalty to royal tradition? Meghan has vanished from publi #CView. Her Instagram, once a curated showcase of motherhood and activism, is silent. Hollywood allies, producers, agents, even A-list friends, are distancing themselves, wary of being dragged into a legal firestorm. She's not hiding, one #insider told me. She's regrouping, planning her next move like a chess master, but the silence feels like surrender. The media, once her ally, is turning. Old footage is reanalyzed, every interview, every tear, every gesture now viewed with suspicion. That Oprah moment, where Meghan spoke of protecting her #children, is replayed with a new lens. Was it genuine, or part of the act? Then there's the parlor CE. Buckingham's legal team is in overdrive, drafting contying #NC plans for a constitutional crisis. If DL's claims hold, the monarchy faces a reckoning. Succession law #WS are rigid, and any deception about Archie and Lilibet's birth could invalidate their royal status. Traditionalists are apoplectic, calling it a betrayal of the crown's found that ion lineage. This isn't just a scandal, a royal historian told me. It's a threat to the monarchy's legitimacy. Some even whisper of parle #parliamentary debates to rewrite succession laws for an age of surrogacy and secrecy. But the human toll cuts deepest. DL isn't just fighting for herself. She's fighting for 2 children she claims are hers, raised by a couple who've built a global brand on their image as parents. She's haunted by the thought of Archie and Lilibet growing up without knowing her. I see them in magazines, she told me, her voice Brea King. My son, my daughter, and I'm a ghost to them. Her legal team is preparing to file a public claim, complete with photos from Archie's birth, hospital bed, a tiny wristband, a mother's weary smile. If those images hit the press, the Sussexes' carefully curated world will implode. And there's a darker twist. DL claims she wasn't the only one silenced. A nurse from the Colorado hospital, who allegedly witnessed Archie's birth, vanished from her job weeks later. Her social media went dark. He #OurFamilyT #Eitlipped. Rumors swirl of a payoff, or worse, intimidation. Then there's Elias, the intermediary who brokered the deal. DL says he's gone off-grid. H's last known address a P.O. box in Nevada. They're cleaning up loose ends, she told me, fear flickering in her eyes. But they forgot about me. As I write this, the media is a feeding frenzy. Tabloids scream of royal deception and surrogate scandal. Social media dissects every frame of Meghan's pregnancy footage. Harry's memoir #Spare, where he gushed about fatherhood, is now seen as a potential confession, or a calculated lie. The Sussexes' silence only fuels the fire. No statement, no denial, just an eerie stillness that screams guilt to a skeptical public. DL, meanwhile, is ready to step into the light. I was invisible for too long, she told me. Now the world will know my name. This isn't just a story of a family or a scandal. It's a battle for truth, identity and the soul of an institution that's weathered wars, divorces and rebellions. If DL's claims are true, the monarchy faces a question it's never had to answer. What happens when a lie becomes the foundation of a dynasty? And for Harry and Meghan, the stakes are even higher. They've built their lives on being free from tradition, but this secret could chain them to a legacy of deception forever. As for me, Clara Voss, I'm just a witness, a voice from the shadows.